Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Faden. I'm so grateful we get to spend this time together today. We're going to be talking about a topic that I hope is really inspiring for you, and maybe it'll bring some new energy and inspiration into your current prayer practice. And if you don't have a prayer practice, maybe this will inspire you to start one. That's my hope for you today. But before we get into all of that, let's take a few deep breaths together, get ourselves grounded and centered and really ready to receive this inspiration. So please, as always, if you're driving, keep your eyes on the road, but you can still bring your awareness to your breath. And if you can close your eyes, go ahead and do that. Breathing in the energy of expansion, breathing out whatever you no longer need, releasing any tension, breathing in the energy of spaciousness. And whatever it is that you would most love to hear today, just imagine that you've already heard it and you feel so filled with love and gratitude and inspiration. Knowing that that's exactly what's going to be happening, let's take that one more deep breath in gratitude and we can begin. All right, my miraculous friend. I'm so glad that this is the topic we're talking about today, the energy of prayer. Now, you might be thinking, well, I know about prayer. Or you might be thinking, I don't know what she's talking about. Either way, whether you've been praying for years or you're just thinking about it, a lot of times when people email me or they write to me, they don't understand the energy of prayer. And they're like, am I doing it right? Am I not doing it right? So I want to answer some of these things for you. And I also want to help you understand this idea of prayer as a form of self-care, which nobody's really talking about it that way. And I was inspired to talk about it this way. One of my teachers who I follow posted something months and months ago, might even have been like, I don't know, 6 months ago, where she just said prayer is self-care. And I've been meditating on that ever since, like prayer is self-care. How is that true? What does that mean? How can I apply that? And so I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things that I have learned about prayer being a form of self-care and how you can apply that. So first, let's take a look at the energy of prayer. And for me, my definition is prayer is any time that you are reaching out to the divine, whether that is reaching within you or reaching out to God or whatever it is for you. It's starting to bypass our ego and connect with that part of ourselves that is eternal. Most of the times we do it mentally. A lot of times we'll do it just quietly in our own minds. Sometimes people do it out loud and they will verbalize their prayers. You know what my favorite is? I like to write down my prayers. That's my favorite type of journaling, is just conversations with the divine. I'll just be like, dear God, here's what's on my mind. And I'll just start to share that way. I like it because it's very concrete and it gets things out of my head and onto the paper. And I feel like I've released them. But prayer comes in many, many forms. It can be the spontaneous words from your own heart, a conversation like we're having. It could just be you're just, talking to the divine that way. It could be simple prayer, like a gratitude prayer where you say, thank you, blessing your food. You say, thank you for the day. Thank you for my food. Thank you for this opportunity, whatever it might be. Simple prayers like that. They can be ancient prayers that maybe you come from a long tradition of people praying a certain prayer. It can be an ancient prayer. It can be a new prayer. It can be a mantra. Speaking of ancient prayers, it can be a mantra, one thing that you repeat over and over again. Or in the case of the rosary, it can be something that you are praying and then, there's a set of prayers that you will pray over and over again. Either way, there's no right or wrong way to do that. So sometimes people say, oh, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? First of all, just let go of the idea of it being wrong. Anytime you're reaching out to the divine, you can never be wrong. And Mother Mary says, think of it as like picking up the phone and calling your mom or your best friend or somebody that you love. You're not going to critique yourself and say, am I calling my best friend correctly? You're just going to call your friend and you're going to share from your heart. And I really, really believe that that is a beautiful way to practice prayer and any spiritual practices, is we just do it really from our heart sometimes spontaneously, sometimes it's a set prayer. There's no wrong way. But then the question comes in, how is this self-care? Now, if you think about those words, self-care, what pops into your mind? First thing that pops into your mind when you think self-care. Well, you might be thinking about physical things. You might be thinking about you get up, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, you take care of your body. Maybe you take vitamins, maybe you do some yoga, some exercise. Those are all beautiful forms of self-care. Taking care of the body temple is very important. Maybe you go another step and you take care of yourself mentally and emotionally as well. You read something positive, maybe you say some affirmations, or if you're having a hard time, maybe you reach out to somebody, you get to talk something through, or maybe you're seeing a therapist, whatever it might be. Those are all forms of self-care. But then we think about spiritual self-care, and what do you think about? Does anything come to mind? Now, maybe you think meditation, maybe you think prayer, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But a lot of times I find this piece, spiritual self-care, is missing for a lot of people. And I'll hear often like, oh, I tried meditating and I can't do it. Now, I'm not going to talk about meditation because that's not the point here, but I am going to talk about prayer because prayer sets the stage and it is a powerful form of self-care. And I'm going to tell you my experience as a miracle mentor, as an intuitive energy reader, somebody who is can read people's energy, and somebody who's been working in this field for over 30 years now. I started, in my early 20s doing this work, and I have worked with thousands of people at this point. And I can tell you from working with people's energies, first of all, it's fascinating because everybody's different, and people change all the time, and I never know what to expect. But your prayers, how is it self-care? Because those prayers are in your energy field, and not just your energy field, but the energy field of your lineage. Now, please know when I'm saying prayers, it's a little bit more of a, I guess, Western idea, Western word. But whatever lineage you come from, if you had ancestors that did puja ceremonies like they do in India, or if you had, ancestors that were Buddhist and used to chant the Lotus Sutra, or maybe if you have, Catholic ancestors that used to do the Rosary, or the Jesus prayer, there's no right or wrong. Whatever lineage you come from, all those prayers are in your energy field, and they're blessing you right now, whether you know it or not. So this is one of the reasons why it's so good to thank the ancestors and to honor them, because their prayers are now in your energy field. It's part of your spiritual inheritance. And I didn't know this until I started working with people and I started to see that this was true. And it's actually a story I can share with you from my own life. We have a lot of religious people in my lineage for sure. My grandmother, who had been a nun for, 10 years before she left and married my grandfather, who was studying to be a priest, and then he got married to my grandmother. Their daughter, my aunt, became a nun, and she became a Franciscan nun. And she used to pray a rosary for me every day. Now, this is back when I was like a teenager, and I was like, rosary schmosery, like who cares about any of this religious stuff? I want to go play my guitar, be a rock star. I didn't care about any of that stuff. But as I got older, and my aunt, she passed probably 10 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago. And she had told me, I pray a rosary for you every day. And I know that that rosary that she prayed for me brought me the grace of Mother Mary coming to me in 2012 the way that she did, the visitation that I experienced with Mother Mary. I know that my aunt's prayers connected me to Mother Mary. Now, I'm not saying I wasn't already connected, maybe past lives or whatever. There are a lot of people in my family that pray the rosary on both sides of my family. But the fact that she, as a nun, every day she prayed and she offered up that rosary for me, I know that that has blessed me. I know that that has protected me. I know that it has brought me opportunities that I wouldn't have known about, but those prayers are in my energy field. So if that can happen when someone else prays for you, imagine what it's like when you're actually doing the prayers and what happens in your own energy field. It strengthens you. those vibrations are in there. And you'll notice this when somebody starts to pick up a prayer practice, whatever it might be. Maybe they're in science of mind, they're doing like church or religious science, and they're doing their prayer statements out loud. I think they call them prayer treatments. You notice that they start to look different. They start to stand a little bit different. Like, what's different? It's because those vibrations are in their energy field. They're starting to get stronger. They're starting to speak words of truth, vibrational, what I think Paramahansa Yogananda used to call them vibration bombs. Like these prayers are like vibration bombs. These demands are like, boom. They can shake up old karma. They can shake up old patterns. You have that power in your voice to be able to do something along those lines. So that's part of how it is a path of self-care. But I'm going to share one more story with you. And this story, again, from my own experience, when I'm working with clients, whenever I'm reading their energy, the first thing I do, I put my hands on their ankles and I look to see kind of what's showing up in their energy. What does their energy field want me to know? That's what I'm really looking to see. And often I will hear something or I'll see something, or sometimes Mother Mary will, show up and she's holding a rosary or something like that. And I'll ask them, I'll say, is there something about the rosary kind of going on? And oh, I just started doing the rosary. Or like a client I was working with a couple of weeks ago, as soon as I looked at her energy, I looked at her the first time and Archangel Michael, boom, just came in really, really big. And I was like, whoa, Michael's energy is here to be with you. And she said, oh, yes, I have a devotion to the Archangel Michael chaplet. I used to do it all the time. And I'm like, yep, she's anchored in her connection with Archangel Michael through that chaplet practice, through that devotion. So this is one of my favorite stories. I'm going to share this with you just to really show you that prayer strengthens your energy field, and it really helps with whatever it is. If you want to magnify your miracles, start whatever prayer practice really speaks to you. So I have a client of mine who she and I worked together for a long time, back when I was doing my work a little bit differently than I do it now. But we worked together for on and off for probably about 8 years or so. And so I knew her pretty well. She used to come see me like once a month or something like that. And I knew her really well. And then we lost touch, and she was doing other things, doing other work, and I didn't know what she was doing. And she reached out to me about a year or so ago and wanted to do a session with me. Now, I don't really do single sessions all that much anymore unless people have worked with me. Sometimes I will, depending upon the circumstances. But I knew her, so I knew it wouldn't be like, working with somebody totally cold. It's like, okay. So I already had a preconceived idea of what it was to work with this person. And never before had I had anything, happen like what happened that day. So as far as I knew, things were just as they were. So I say my prayer. I put my hands where she would be, because I always act as if someone's laying on a massage table. When I do my work with people, I put my hands on their ankles where their ankles would be if they were laying on a massage table, because that's how I started way back when. And I tuned in their energy field. And the first thing I heard and I saw was the goddess Durga. Durga is the goddess sitting on either a lion or a tiger, depending upon which depiction. She's one of the 3 goddesses in the Hindu Trinity that is all about protection. She's just like, the Durga energy is so powerful. Whenever I think of the powerful divine feminine, I think of Durga. And so here she was, boom. And I could hear this mantra. I could hear it like, Om Dum Durgaye Namaha, in her energy field. And I was like, all right, Fran, are you like making stuff up here? Because I love mantras and I have been working with mantras, and I was feeling really drawn to Durga. I might have even been doing a practice at that time. And I was like, is this my energy? Is this her energy? So I asked her, and I said, well, I have to tell you that as soon as I tuned into your energy field, I see the goddess Durga. Do you know who that is? Now I asked her, do you know who that is? Because I didn't think she knew who it was. I didn't think she had anything to do with mantras or any of that stuff. And she says, oh yeah, I've been praying to her and I've been doing the Durga mantra for the last several months. And I was like, whoa, I had no idea. I had no idea. I said, well, good news. She's here and she's reinforcing your energy field. Like you have protection against whatever it is that you need protection against. You got it. And it was amazing to me because, again, I knew this person. I didn't think this person even knew about Sanskrit mantras or anything like that. I had no idea what her practice was. I hadn't talked to her in several years. And then, boom, I looked at her energy, and there was the energy of Goddess Durga. Now, I'm not Hindu, obviously. I was raised Catholic. I love all things from all religions because I'm an interfaith minister, and I do practice Sanskrit mantra. But I had no idea that this person, that Durga, was going to show up. Usually Mother Mary shows up when I work with people. But she had been doing such a devoted practice and praying so much that her whole energy field was permeated with the energy of that mantra, which actually brought the presence of the divine in that form. I want you to hear that. Her practice brought the energy of the divine in that form. That's how powerful prayer is. So when you think about self-care, you're thinking about, strengthening your energy. A lot of us, I know you're probably a highly sensitive person. And a lot of times we think about protection, protection, protection. I'm going to say, go for strengthening, not just protection. If you're stronger, and prayer is one of the ways that you get yourself to be stronger. The other thing it does is it gets us beyond our ego. What is it that we're praying to? Well, you could think of it as praying outside of yourself. I'm praying to Mother Mary, but I always say to people, Mother Mary is an energy also inside of you. She lives in your heart. You can think that you're praying to Archangel Michael, but Michael is also an energy that is inside of you, the qualities of faith and protection and alignment with divine will. This is the thing. It's like both things are true. These are energies that exist outside of us, like the trees, and there are also energies that exist inside of us. I love when I see pictures of nature and you see things that are, they're obviously outside of us. You see like a tree. What do trees do? They help us to have oxygen. And then if you were to look at the structure of the lungs, the inside of the lungs look like what? They look like tree branches. So as above, so below, as within, so without. The energy of these great beings, do they exist outside of us? Yes, but they also exist inside of us. And when we're awakened, we get that there's no difference. Outside, there is no outside and inside. It's all just one energy. But until you're at that place, I encourage you to think that anything that's outside of you is also inside of you. So these energies that you are, when you're praying, you're really connecting with the eternal part of you. You're connecting to the part of you that is the divine. You're connecting to that part of you that's beyond your ego, beyond problems. The ego is very problem oriented, problem consciousness. Whenever you pray, you're giving yourself permission to go beyond what your ego knows, which is just the past, and it just knows problems. You open your mind up, you open your spirit up to hear a solution, to hear an answer. And that puts you in the energy. That's a beautiful self-care, to say, no, I know there's an answer here. Even if it looks like there's not one, I'm going to open myself up to that possibility. Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you is, as a form of self-care, is the energy of grace. Mother Mary talks about this all the time. So we live in the world, we live in the natural world, and there are certain laws here that we have to respect. And there are even, metaphysical laws like the law of karma. But there's also the law of grace. And anytime that you connect with the divine, you build that relationship with divine, you start to build up a grace bank account, so to speak. You start to build up this energy that's not just protection, it's also loving, and it's caring, and it's wanting the best for you. And Mother Mary often says, look at everything that you could have had if you had only asked. If you would only ask. I was just reading about an apparition today. And in this apparition, it was happening. I think it was happening in, maybe it was happening in Rwanda. I forget, but it was happening somewhere where there was like a drought, or it was really dry. It was a desert. And Mother Mary came and she said, why haven't you asked for rain? Why haven't you prayed for rain?" And I think she said, asked me specifically. And they were like, "Oh, we hadn't thought of that." Oh, we hadn't thought of that. And then immediately these clouds formed and this rain came and it soaked the parched land. And Mother Mary wants us to ask. Now, you might think, should I really be asking that much? The answer is yes. Mother Mary, her guidance is to be asking all the time. Now, that doesn't mean that we ask and we do nothing, we don't take inspired action, but we're meant to be asking. It puts you in the flow of grace. I want you to write that down. Prayer puts you in the flow of grace. And that flow of grace, guess what that is? That's the way to magnify your miracles. You're in that flow. You're in that flow of grace. So, my friends, I'm hoping that you are feeling inspired. You can always, always pray in a way that feels good to you. I encourage you to do a little bit of prayer exploration. So look at, if you were raised in a tradition, look to your tradition and see, is there anything in my tradition that is speaking to me these days? Is there anything that jumps out at me? For me, I'm exploring the Archangel Michael chaplet, which is all about connecting with the 9 choirs of angels. And I'm changing the prayers to make them work for me. Maybe you come from a beautiful Jewish tradition. I love the prayers in Judaism. And maybe the book of Psalms is really speaking to you. And maybe you can change those and make those feel like they're your prayers. Or maybe you just do the prayers the way that they are. Maybe you come from a Hindu tradition and you want to look at some of the morning prayers and some of the other things that are recited. They're beautiful sutras, beautiful things every day that you can pray over your food and infuse the food with beautiful energy. Whatever, you're Buddhist, the Lotus Sutra, whatever you were born into, look to see, are there any diamonds here that I may have missed as I've been growing and changing? And then if not, that's perfectly fine. Start with where you are. And I recommend spontaneous prayer of the heart, where you just connect with the divine in any way that speaks to you, whether that's to Mother Mary, a specific being like Mother Mary, Archangel Michael, Paramahansa Yogananda, the Buddha, whoever, your favorite saint. You can connect with the great divine mother. That's not about any specific names. You can connect with Mother Nature. You can connect with Father Sky, Father Sun. There's no wrong way. It needs to be true for you, though. That's the most important thing. It needs to really resonate with you. And then just from your heart, share what's going on. You need help? Ask for help. You need something else? Ask for that. Ask to be shown. Ask to be able to see. Ask to expand your awareness. Because the miracle's already here. We say this at the end of every podcast episode. The first step is remembering, oh, my miracle's already here. Well, then the next step is to pray and ask that your awareness be expanded so that you can see it. Where is it? Where is it? Where's that miracle? It's here already. I need to just become aware of that. So I would love to hear about your adventures with praying. You can do it, same prayer every day. You can have a different ongoing conversation. I like having a prayer journal. You can do a 40-day prayer practice. There's no wrong way to do this. But I will say, have fun with it. Have fun. Check out novenas. Check out 40-day prayer practices. Do them for 9 days. Do them for 18 days. Do whatever feels right for you. Do it with the cycle of the new moon and the full moon. There's no wrong way. But do it because it is a way to take care of yourself and to show yourself that your spirit matters to you. Your spirit matters. Just like you brush your teeth every day, say a prayer of gratitude. Say any kind of a prayer that has meaning for you. And then watch what happens. Notice how your energy starts to shift. Notice if people start to say to you, hey, what happened? You seem a little different. You seem a little bit more joyful. You seem a little bit more relaxed. Those are the clues that your prayer practice of self-care is working when you get that evidence. It's going to make your energy strong and you're going to start to feel differently. So, my friend, that's my sharing with you for today. I hope this was inspiring for you. If it was, please, I would so appreciate it if you could leave me a review. That would help me out so much. You can also leave me a comment wherever you're listening or watching this. And I would really love it if you could tell your friends about it and invite them to subscribe. That would really help me the most. So, prayers and blessings to you, my friend. And remember, the key to magnifying your miracles is to know that your miracle is already here. God bless you. Bye bye.